not only high-level research, but also a huge political will to do it. Because since the beginning, there was a mandatory to put alcohol, a percentage of alcohol in the automobile gasoline. So we created a huge market for that. And we had a lot of incentives for the auto industry to create cars that could drive on this with this kind of thing. Today, half of the Brazilian automobile fleet is flex fuel. And practically all the new cars that are built in Brazil are flex fuel. That means that 30% of Brazil's automobile fuel consumption comes from ethanol. And this is a huge contribution to more green or less dirty economy. And what is interesting, too, is that this huge effort is creating in Brazil also a consensus, a huge national consensus on the necessity of going further with green energy. Right now, we have starting programs for biodiesel and wind programs. In the last 5 years, wind power generation jumped 1,600% in Brazil. It's true, we came from a very small base, but it was a very interesting jump. Now let's see the other face of it, which is the other contribution to Brazil's, to the world energy problems. Brazil has discovered in the last 10 years one of the greatest oil and gas reserves in the world, in front of the Brazilian coast, offshore, in the pre-salt. Petrobras has said recently that it estimates it at 50 billion barrels. Independent research says that it could go to 120 billion barrels. The international energy agency, is already saying that Brazil in the next 15 years will become the third biggest exporter of oil after Saudi Arabia and Iraq. So this is changing the whole picture. And it's not only Brazil. If you look at the west coast of Africa, every month you have a huge discovery on the west coast of Africa, which means that the South Atlantic with Brazil, Argentina, the coast of Africa, and Venezuela is becoming a huge new fossil fuel producing zone, which is changing the political geography of oil and gas in the world. Already, if you look at the United States is getting out of the Middle East and getting much more in Atlantic oil and gas. And all this gas that is coming up also could give Europe a way to hedge its dependency on Russia. So this is a new contribution of Brazil, a huge one. Brazil is becoming the biggest non-OPEC oil producer. And at the same time, what is interesting for Brazil is that we are waking up to gas potential on producing energy. And as you know, gas is much cleaner than other sources of fossil fuel. So in that sense, we are getting a country, a huge country, with a huge industrial park, with very important development that is more or less, but a lot cleaner than others, and what's more important, self-sufficient in energy. This is a big contribution to the greening of the world. Are we the good guys in this world? Yes and no. We have a lot of problems. The first problem is the Amazon rainforest. We are still burning the Amazon rainforest. Brazil is still emitting a lot of CO2, not from energy consumption, but from burning the Amazon. So we have to find a way of stopping to burn the Amazon, but also to find a way to have a sustainable development in the rainforest. President Lula used to say, I can't see, it's impossible to imagine a guy dying of hunger hugging a tree. So what we have to find is a way that these 20 million people in Brazil that live in the Amazon forest can make a living without destroying the forest. And this is technology. This is politics. And this is not only the Amazon. It's for the rest of the South and developing countries. No developing country is going to say, we're going to be green, but we're going to die of hunger. So we have to find a way to put these together. And I think Brazil has a good example on it. It's special. Not every country has this big thing. But there's an example that maybe Brazil can give to the world. It's its cooperation with other southern countries to pass technology on ethanol, etc. It's a self-serving way of doing it. But it is a way of passing this technology to countries that can do these things. And maybe the question of how we transfer technology in a self-serving way, but at the same time serving this green economy and serving the needs of the southern countries, this is the big question mark we have today. And I think this is the question we have to solve, because if we don't solve this question, you're going to see what we are seeing now in Durban and everywhere, that nobody will agree on how to go further. Thank you very much.